We are going to look at how to build iOS apps through command line. So you may have seen a lot of iOS teams ranging from a single developer to hundreds of developers working on the same app. So as the size of the app grows, more developers start working on them so that they'll be able to ship a lot of features faster to the market. So when you are doing that, it is also important to keep a check on quality. So there are multiple ways to do that, like having a test suite which validates every change that gets merged into your code base. Or you will be able to generate an app which contains the latest changes which were made that day and distribute it across the stakeholders to get quicker feedback from them so that you will be able to do a course correction from there. So in order to do all of this, it is important to have a continuous integration and continuous delivery system or a CI/CD system. So there are a lot of tools that are already available, like Travis CA, Circle CA, and there are also tools like Fastlane, which makes this process easier. So the idea is to learn and understand how to develop a script or tool which can basically archive, sign, and export the IPA of a basic iOS app so that you'll be able to understand how these CI/CD tools actually work and how to use these tools when we are developing our own CI/CD pipeline. In order to understand how to build the apps through command line, there are a few terms which we need to familiarize ourselves with. So some of these are pretty straightforward and already known to you all. So what is an iOS project file? What is a target? What does build configurations mean? So what are schemes and how are they different from targets? What are certificates, identifiers, and provisioning profiles? Let's start with iOS project file. So if you're an iOS developer, you already know what an iOS project file means. So the project file is the master configuration, which is like a brain to your workspace. You may have a lot of Swift files, you may have storyboards, you may have assets, other resources inside your project, but without the project file, so they won't be able to understand each other. So project file links all of these together. Basically, it maintains the references for all the source files. It maintains what are the different dependencies. It keeps a list of different targets, and it also maintains the list of different files that are localized in different languages. Let us look at what target means. Targets are the products of an Xcode project. An Xcode project can be an application project, it could be a Cocoa Touch framework. So each of them could have their own products. A project can have more than one targets, but it at least has one. A target usually inherits the build settings of its parent project, but it can also have build settings of its own. A target also has something called as build phases, which defines how this product is built. Let's look at what schemes are. There could be a confusion between schemes and targets because usually whenever we try to run our app or build our app, the scheme that we select to do that is usually having the same name as its target. But schemes are not targets itself, but schemes define how operations such as build, test, run, and archive are all performed on this target. So every target has at least one scheme, but it can also have multiple schemes. Let us look at the schemes that we have for the app that I have here. So usually the schemes that we have will be pretty much same as the targets that we have in the application project, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. When I create a new scheme, I need to select what is the target for which I'm creating this new scheme for, and I'm free to create different schemes for the same target. But why would I have different schemes for the same target? Because having different schemes allows us to customize some configurations which determines how each of these operations that are listed here are executed on top of this target. For example, the run operation can be customized by choosing different build configuration for this particular scheme. So the reason why I named this as test build app release is that I want this scheme to run with the release build configuration and not the debug build configuration. So let us look at what build configuration means in some time. So as you can see, there are a bunch of other options which you can customize for each of the schemes that we create here. Let's talk about build configurations. Build configurations are any settings that determine the nature of the product that is being built. Any information that are decided at the build time can be classified as build configuration. So some examples could be, so how much is the build optimized? Are debug information included as part of the build? What is the build number? What is the bundle ID that is used to build the app? What is the provisioning profile that should be used? These are some examples of build configuration. So we all know that debug and release are the two build configurations that we know about. If you look into the build settings tab under your project settings, you will be able to see what are the different build settings that can be configured differently for each build configurations. So one example could be enable testability. So debug builds can be tested while release builds cannot be. Debug builds need not be validated while release builds have to be validated. This is one important difference, which is optimization level, wherein the debug build is not optimized because it is going to contain more information, allowing us to debug whenever you encounter any issue with the app, while the release need not contain any additional information, so release is being optimized to be the fastest and the smallest. So which makes sense, because since it does not contain all these additional overheads that the debug builds are going to have, release builds can be fastest and smallest. If you go into the application target and look into signing and capabilities, you'll be able to see that you can provide different bundle identifier, choose a different provisioning profile for each of the build configurations that we have. If you go into the project settings info tab, you will be able to see under configurations the list of the configurations that we have. So this is where Xcode specifies that there are two configurations, namely debug and release. But why debug and release? As we just saw, if you look into the build settings tab, you'll still be able to see a lot of build settings which can be configured for each of the build configuration. But if you think about it, it is incredibly hard for an iOS developer to learn and understand what each of these build settings are, even after years of being in iOS development. So in order to not put that burden on the developers, Apple came up with two default build configurations called as debug and release. So as we just discussed, debug contains no optimization. It contains all the debug symbols. It can be tested, and release is optimized to be the fastest and the smallest, and therefore cannot be tested. So Apple claims that in most scenarios, developers need not actually go for a new custom build configuration other than debug and release. And they are right in saying so, because debug build is the one which you normally use for running in your simulators, running in your test devices, to share across internal testing teams, etc. Release builds are the ones you distribute through TestFlight and App Store. So let's just try to look at how can one create custom configurations of their own. So there are some apps which create custom build configurations for each application environments. For example, if there is an environment called as QA, they will have a separate configuration for that. They will have a separate configuration for staging environment. They will have a separate one for production. So let's try to create those. So let me directly rename the debug build configuration as QA, and let me create a new one. Let me duplicate the QA configuration and rename it as stage, and let me rename the release build configuration as production. So this is one way to have custom build configurations for your app. So now let's go into our build settings. You'll be able to see all the build configurations which we previously configured for debug and release are now allowing you to configure for QA, staging and production configurations. So, and this reflects everywhere. So this is how you create your own custom configuration and optimize it differently for different builds. So now if you go into your targets, you will be able to see that you are free to have different bundle identifiers and provisioning profiles for your QA, staging and production. So in this case, since I have given the same bundle ID and provisioning profile for QA and staging, they are grouped together and shown here, and I can have a different one for production, which is usually the case. Let us look at debug and release configuration with a little more detail. I know we spoke about debug build as something which contains debug information and something that is testable, and release is something that is optimized to be the smallest and fastest. But what exactly does it mean and what significance does it have? So let us try to look at this with a practical example. If you remember, we created two schemes called as test build app debug and test build app release. And the differences between both of those is that the test build app debug has the build configuration set as debug, and the test build app release has the build configuration set as release. So let me try to run the test build app debug scheme in the simulator. So the app that we have here is a simple app which doesn't do much, which just displays a greeting. Now what if something went wrong with this app? This is the portion of code which gets executed at the time of application startup. What if there was a crash at the time of app startup? So I'm going to intentionally crash the app by force unwrapping an optional which contains only nil. I'm doing this to simulate a crash which might happen when you are running the app. Let us run the test build app debug scheme. We have got the crash. So there are a bunch of things to observe over here. Let's start from the stack trace that we have. The stack trace gives us an accurate picture of what the call stack is and which method exactly caused the crash. And if you look at the state of all the variables over here, it lets you analyze the state of the application or the class that we are looking into to check if any of these variables were holding the values that they were not supposed to at the time of crash. And if you look at the console, it gives you specific messages saying why this crash happened. So in our case, it is unexpectedly found nil while unwrapping an optional value. So which is exactly what we did over here. And it also gives you what is the class and what is the line number in which this crash occurred. And you'll also be able to print the values of any variables which you want to dig into. In my case, I see there is a content view object. So you'll be able to type in any complex expressions over here and also check what value they hold. This is the case with the test build app debug scheme, which is running the app in the simulator with the debug build configuration. So let us try the same thing with test build app release scheme, which is going to run the app in release configuration. So now the app crashed exactly at the same place, but if you look at all the things that we previously saw, the stack trace is pretty much the same. We are not able to see much difference, but if you look at the variables view, you are not able to see anything. And if you look at the console, it says test build app was compiled with optimization, stepping may behave oddly, and variables may not be available. So which is exactly what we mean when we say the target is going to be run with optimization. We know that the release configuration is run with fastest and smallest optimization, right? So this is exactly what it means. So in order to be able to execute fast, in order to have the smallest size, the release build configuration compromises by excluding all the debug information that will be helpful when something wrong happens, which is okay, since release builds are the ones that we will be shipping for App Store or test flight. A real customer will not be having any use by having this additional information added as part of the application package. This is something that will be useful only for the developers. Let's now talk about certificates, identifiers, and profiles. So from the image that you see over here, you'll be able to identify that this is the signing and capabilities tab under target settings. This is where you specify what is the bundle identifier, provisioning profile, and signing certificate that you will be using to sign and export the app. And you will be able to configure them differently for each of your build configurations as well. But what exactly are these certificates, identifiers, and profiles? This is a little vast topic which we can explore in detail separately, but in order to get through this video, let us try to understand them on a high level. Let's start off with signing certificates. Whenever there is a certificate involved, we usually talk about encryption. When you create a certificate, you basically create a pair of public key and private keys. In the context of iOS application development, what the signing certificate does is at the time of exporting or uploading to App Store, the application archive is encrypted using the developer's private key. So the Apple will be able to identify where the application archive came from by using the public key that they have, which means any data that is encrypted using the private key can only be decrypted using the public key, in which case Apple will be decrypting the application archive using the public key that they have. So this is how any certificate signing happens, and this is not only specific to iOS application signing. This is also the case with SSL encryption and a lot of other applications as well. The reason why we have this is that Apple should be able to identify that this is the developer or this is the certificate that is used for signing the app, and that it came from a valid source. And it also works out well for the developers, since they'll be able to have the assurance that no data has been modified after they have signed the app and uploaded it to App Store. So what are identifiers? Identifier or bundle ID, as we see that in the signing and capabilities tab in target settings, is the unique identifier that identifies every application in App Store. It is just like purchasing a domain, just that in this case, the bundle ID might not be visible in most cases for the customers. What is provisioning profile? Provisioning profile is an entity which is merely used to link all these certificates and identifiers together. What a provisioning profile signifies is that the developer who has this signing certificate is allowed to sign and ship the app which has this identifier. There are some additional cases as well. If you are trying to get a development profile, you will also be able to specify what is the device in which you will be running this app. In that case, what it would mean is that a developer who has this signing certificate is allowed to sign this app with this identifier so that he'll be able to run it in this device. To give you an idea of how you create a certificate or an identifier or a provisioning profile, this is how the certificates, identifiers and profile section of your Apple developer account looks like. You'll be able to manage your signing certificates, app identifiers, your test devices and your provisioning profiles all in the same place. So as you can see, in the case of certificates, you'll be able to create a development certificate or a distribution certificate. As the name indicates, development certificates is something that can only be used to sign applications that you're going to run in your test devices or going to be distributed internally among your team, whereas distribution certificates are used to sign and export apps that you will be distributing to TestFlight or App Store. In the same way, if you look at the provisioning profiles, there are defined types of profiles that you will be able to create, which again means you can have a App Store profile or a development profile. To look a little detail into the different types of provisioning profiles that you can create, you will be able to create development and App Store profiles generically for all the platforms, or you can choose to get profiles specific for a particular platform as well. Now that we have a good understanding of the terms to be familiarized with, let's go use that understanding to build an app in the usual way. By the usual way, I mean let's build the app directly from Xcode, and then let's look at how we can automate whatever we did in the form of scripts. These are the steps to archive and export an app. To start with, let us look at our signing and capabilities tab in our target settings. You will be able to see that I already have the bundle identifier, the provisioning profile and the signing certificate populated in the signing and capabilities tab. The bundle identifier field need to be populated with the bundle identifier that we have created in the Apple developer account. So the provisioning profile need to be imported, and the file that we need to import will have an extension of .mobile provision. So we don't have to manually add the signing certificate here. Xcode automatically picks the right signing certificate for this provisioning profile from the device keychain. The next step is we should be choosing the right scheme using which we want to archive the application target, and we need to choose generic iOS device under the device destination, and then we need to click on product menu and choose archive. So let me pick the test build app debug target, since I want to archive the app with debug configuration, and let me choose generic iOS device as the destination device. So let me go to the product menu and click on archive. So now the application is getting archived. So now you will be able to see all the instances of the application archive in the window called as organizer. So you can manually navigate into the organizer window through the window menu and selecting organizer. Now that we have archived the app, the next step is to export the archive. So we need to click on the archive which we want to sign and export and click on distribute app or export button. So if you look at the organizer window here, you'll be able to see the distribute app button, after which we need to choose a couple of options before we sign and export the app. So I have selected the right application archive and let me click on distribute app. There is a pop-up that is asking me to choose a bunch of options. So the first one is the method of distribution. The method of distribution expects the developer to say what is the intent of this signing and export. Are we exporting the app so that it could be run on a test device, or it could be distributed internally across the organization for testing purposes, or am I going to publish it on TestFlight and App Store? So in our case, since I only want to export an archive so that I can share it with the development team, I'm choosing development over here and clicking on next. So there are a couple of more options over here which we can see in detail in future, but just remember that these are some options which you need to provide at the time of exporting your archive. It also asks you to choose the provisioning profile. So since test app is my provisioning profile, I'll simply choose that. Now it presents me with a summary of all the settings that I've already chosen. Click on export. Now it asks you to say where you want to create this archive. So within the application workspace, let me create a new folder called as output. I'm okay with this, so I'm clicking on export. This usually means that the export is done, so let us go verify if we have received the IPA. I'm able to see the test build app debug.ipa file inside the folder that I just chose, and this is how you archive and export an application package through Xcode. Now that we are familiar with this, let us look at ways by which we will be able to automate what we just did. Let's open the command line and go to the root directory of our workspace. In order to execute any operation from command line, we need to have command line tools installed. So if you are using Xcode in your system, your command line tools will already be installed. The way you access it is by starting the command with Xcode build. You may have performed a lot of operations through Xcode such as build, run, test and archive, but the Xcode build commands are those that get invoked behind the scenes when you are doing so. We are trying to archive the test build app. The command to do that is Xcode build archive. If you remember from the start of this video, I mentioned that the first important thing to know about in order to run any command in your command line is to know about your project file, and it will be the first parameter for any operations that you carry out in your command line. So let us provide the path of your project file. The next step is to choose the right target and configuration. There are two ways to do this. One is you could choose the target that you want to build and specifying what is the build configuration that you want to use in order to archive this project. The other way to do this is, if you remember, we have already created schemes which have linked the targets and the build configurations together. All that you have to do is mention the right scheme so that it picks the right target and builds it and archives it with the correct build configuration. So this is much easier, and I am going to choose the scheme test build app debug over here. Ideally this is it if you do the same operation through Xcode, except there is just another intermediate step which you need to remember, is that you need to mention where to drop the Xcode archive. I'm going to choose a path that does not exist. I'm going to put that under a folder called as archive. This is the location I want Xcode build to drop the XE-archive file in. So XE-archive is the extension of the outcome that we get out of this archive operation. So let's execute this. Our archive is successfully completed, and if you go to the location that we provided, you will be able to see that a new folder is created called as archive, and it contains the XE-archive file, which is the output of the archive operation. Yes, so at this stage, when we did this operation manually through Xcode, we went into the organizer window, chose the right archive and clicked on distribute app, and then we chose a bunch of options and then clicked on export. So let's see how to do the same thing using command line. Now that we have the archive successfully created, now this archive file need to be passed in as an input to the next command which we are going to execute, which is export archive. The export archive command goes like this. This specifies that I am going to export an archive, which means I need to provide where this archive is located. So there is no need to provide the project location over here, since we already have created the Xcode archive file. I've specified the path for the XE archive file that we created. The next step is to specify where to drop the iOS application package or the IPA file into. So, and that should be provided as part of the export path parameter. If you remember, we already have a folder called as output, and I'm just going to specify output as a parameter. There is one last parameter which is missing. If you remember, when we did the same operation through Xcode, after we clicked on distribute app, we had to choose a bunch of options, such as what is the distribution method. Are we distributing it internally, or are we going to run this in a destined device, or if we are going to distribute the archive in TestFlight or App Store. We also chose the right provisioning profile which we need to use, but when we are doing the same operation through command line, how are we to achieve all those? We are going to provide all those information in the form of a property list file. If you go into Xcode build help, this gives you the manual of how you need to use the Xcode build command. Here you will be able to find there is a parameter called as export options plist. So this is exactly what we need to provide. So this plist file is going to hold all the configurations which we specified at the time of export, and then provide the path of that plist file as part of this parameter. And you have a section which talks about what are the different keys that are available in this plist that we are going to create. All of these keys need not be part of the plist, as most of them has a default value for themselves. You can omit most of them. I'm just going to pick some key configurations such as destination. So destination specifies whether we need to export it in the form of IPA, or do I want to upload the archive to App Store Connect. And there is a key called as method, which says if I need to distribute the archive in App Store, or do I want an ad hoc build, or do I need to distribute this on an enterprise level, or am I just going to run it in a device that I have registered. And another important one is, if you remember, we chose the provisioning profiles, which is a dictionary over here. So we need to specify what provisioning profile we are going to use for signing this, and the format of this dictionary is: keys in this dictionary are the bundle identifiers of executables, and values are the provisioning profile name or UUID to use. So let's go and create this export plist in our workspace. It will be easier to create the plist through Xcode itself. I'm going to create a new group called as config, and let me create a new file. I'll choose the property list and let me name it as export. Let us go ahead and start adding the items which we just saw. The first one is distribution. So the distribution method is going to be export. Let me create another one, which is method, and the archive method is going to be development. Now the third one is the provisioning profiles, and it is a dictionary. Let us add the provisioning profiles. You can easily look this up in your signing and capabilities, wherein you will be able to find the bundle identifier, which should be the key in our dictionary, and the provisioning profile name, which needs to be the value. And this goes over here, and let me save this, and we are set. Now all that we need to do is provide this export.plist as part of the export options plist parameter. Let's go ahead and execute this. And that's it. Looks like our export succeeded. Let's go into Finder and see. There it is. I'm able to see the test build app debug.ipa that is dropped into the folder output, which I just passed in as the parameter for export archive command. Now that we have figured out how to generate the iOS application package through command line, let us put them all in a script so that we would be able to execute that every time we want to build, rather than typing out all of these commands. Let me create a shell script called as build in the workspace. I'm going to type out both the archive and the export archive commands over here. Let's try to run this new script rather than running the individual commands for archive and export archive. So do not forget to provide execute permissions for your script. You will be able to see that we managed to confine the archival and export operations within one single script. Now let's see how we can optimize this script in such a way that we'll be able to get builds of different configurations by passing arguments to the script. If you look at the commands that we have here, this file is obviously going to be used only for generating IPAs for this test build app. So this is going to remain constant. But the scheme doesn't have to be, because the same project can have multiple schemes which may be running more than one targets under different build configurations as well. So if you see here, we are exporting an archive for the test build app debug scheme. We also have another scheme called as test build app release, which is going to create an archive with release build configurations. So how do I use this same script to generate both debug and release builds? Let us define a command line argument for this script, which takes in a parameter which indicates that we need a debug build or a release build. I'm going to call that argument as build, and now this argument could take either debug or release. Now I'm going to create another variable called as scheme, which is derived out of this build argument. Now all that I need to do is replace the actual scheme's name with the new variable that I've just created, and that will do it. Let us look at this script more carefully. So the next parameter that we have is archive path, which is going to specify where to place this exe archive file, which is going to act as the input for the next command, which is export archive, which will take the same path as argument. So since this is something that this script is using internally, this doesn't have to be taken in as a command line argument. So let us look at export path. So this is an argument that specifies where the ultimate output, the iOS application package, needs to be dropped in. So this can be left to the choice of the developer who is running the script, and this can be obtained as a command line argument. So let me create a new variable IPA path, and let me assign the next command line argument to that. So now all that I need to do is that rather than hard coding the folder path inside the script, I'm going to get it from whoever is running the script. Now we are at the last command line argument that we have, which is the path for the export plist. Since we have the same bundle identifier and provisioning profile, having the same export plist for both debug and release build configurations is okay. But if we have different provisioning profiles to choose from, so which is mostly the case, like we discussed before, teams usually have a different bundle identifier to ship the apps internally and a different bundle identifier for their app in the app stores. Let us also create another variable which is going to tell us where to get this export plist from. I'm going to create a new variable called as config path, and I'm going to have the export plist taken from two different subdirectories. Yeah, now this should do it. So let us save this. Go into Finder. Let me go into the test build app folder, and inside the config folder, let me create two different folders which is going to hold the export plist for the individual build configurations. So now each of these folders have their own export plist which can be individually configured. Now let's try to execute the script that we have written by passing in the command line arguments. There are two command line arguments that we need to pass. First one is the build configuration with which we want the app to be built, which is debug or release, and the second argument is the folder into which we want the script to drop the signed IPA file. So let us do that. The first one being the build configuration. Let me run it with release configuration this time, and let me give the same output folder as the path where I want the IPA to be placed in. So let us run this now. Now let us go look into the output folder, which is our destination. And I'm able to see the test build app release IPA this time, which just got created. With this, we have not only figured out how to build the iOS apps through command line, we have also figured out a way to customize the way in which we get builds of different configuration. So there could be additional customizations done with this. One example could be most of the apps, before they generate an IPA for distribution, might want to verify if their tests are not broken, which would indicate that there is something wrong with the functionality of the app. Another customization is that teams that use Git as their version control would be maintaining multiple branches where each of them might be having different variants of their apps or different versions of their apps, and they might want to generate builds from each of those branches. In this scenario, we would be able to get the branch from which we need to generate the build as a command line argument for the script. We could check out the branch, make sure all the dependencies are mapped correctly, and then we should be able to test if all the unit tests are executing properly, and then we can archive it and export the archive to an IPA file. There is one main subject which we need to discuss deeply, which is how to link the dependencies for the target. So how do we make sure that the dependencies are built and embedded into the application build? There are different dependency management tools for iOS like CocoaPods, we have Carthage, we have Swift Package Manager. As an extension to this, let us look into how each of those dependency management tools operate and what is apt to be used in what scenarios.